Winnipeg Transit's largest overhaul in 50 years happens on June 29th. This new transit network promises to be easier to use, more efficient, and more frequent. But to accomplish this goal, Transit had to take just about every single route and completely rearrange them. As a result, many familiar routes have either been renamed or even removed outright. This guide is meant to help transit users understand the new routes and how to get to where they're going. The most important thing to know about the new network is the frequent express routes. As the name implies, these routes have buses arrive very frequently at each stop, about every 5 to 15 minutes during the day, with the goal of minimizing the wait time for transfers between these buses. Understanding these routes is important to understand the entire network, as most routes are designed to funnel passengers towards the frequent express routes. As a result, many riders will find that they have to transfer more than they have had to before. This was intentional, with the idea that neighborhood-specific routes can focus on serving a neighborhood and that frequent routes can focus on specific corridors throughout the city. These frequent express routes all go through downtown, converging in the vicinity of Portage and Main. Portage and Main is meant to be a new transfer hub for the city, with the famous intersection coincidentally reopening to pedestrians on the same day the transit network starts. Eagle-eyed bus riders may also notice that these routes mostly ignore Graham Avenue, which was previously home to a majority of bus routes. This is because Graham will be converted to a pedestrian-only street, with many of the replacement bus routes now taking Portage instead. The most familiar of these FX routes is the Blue Rapid Transit line. The Blue still runs from the University of Manitoba along the Southwest Transitway to downtown via Main Street. What's new is that the route now turns onto Portage, continuing past the University of Winnipeg all the way to Unicity Shopping Centre, where the route ends. The next route is the Frequent Express 2, or FX2 for short. This starts at St. Vital Centre and follows St. Mary's towards downtown until it reaches Main Street. It stays on Main until Leela, which it turns down to terminate at Garden City Shopping Centre. The longest of these routes is the FX3. This route starts near Grace Hospital in St. James and proceeds across the river down William R. Clement. The route then turns onto Grant, which it takes until it reaches Pembina Highway. Here the FX3 makes its way to the Southwest Transitway to join up with the Blue, eventually reaching Main Street. The route then makes its way up Main towards the Louise Bridge, turning onto Nairn. It continues down Nairn, then Regent, ending at Redonda Street in the east of Transcona. The final and shortest route is the FX4. The FX4 starts at Polo Park and follows the Blue down Portage towards downtown. It then passes the Forks and crosses the river into St. Boniface, where it makes its way down Provencher, turning north on Archibald to reach Watt Street. The route then continues via Chalmers to reach Gateway, which it takes north and terminates just shy of East St. Paul. The new network also has the frequent class of routes to complement the frequent express routes. Similarly, these routes are meant to be frequent enough to make transfers less of a headache, though they are much less frequent and make more stops. The F5 starts at Fort Rouge Station on the Transitway and follows the Blue until just before Osborne Station, where it turns onto Pembina, proceeding onto Donald Smith through downtown. It then crosses Portage before proceeding to Notre Dame and Cumberland. It stays on Notre Dame until McPhillips, which it takes all the way to Garden City Shopping Centre, and ends. The F6 starts in South St. Vital along Dakota Street, proceeding north past St. Vital Centre onto Dunkirk, then Osborne. The route then proceeds onto Memorial, crossing Portage towards Isabel. At Dufferin and Salter, the route turns west to reach McGregor, which it takes until reaching Templeton and the Vince Lea Rec Center. The F7 starts near St. Anne's Road and the Perimeter, heading north until it reaches St. Mary's. After briefly meeting the FX2, the route diverges onto Carriere, followed by a turn north onto Desmarais. The route then reaches Provencher, where it heads towards downtown and crosses Portage and Main, before finally ending by Broadway and Portage. The F8 leaves the University of Manitoba by Chancellor Matheson, turning north onto Pembina, following that road until crossing Osborne and proceeding onto Donald and Smith. The route then passes City Hall via King and Princess before turning onto the Disraeli. The route stays on Henderson until ending at Glenway. The F9, the only frequent route to not enter downtown, starts at the University of Manitoba along University Crescent, turning onto Abinoja. The route passes St. Vital Centre, then turns onto Lakewood, followed by Autumnwood, Betournay, and Spears. The route turns north onto La Jamaudière, which it takes until turning onto Regent and ending at Kildonan Place. The rest of the new network's regular bus routes are made up by the direct, connector, and community routes. The direct routes have similar layouts to the frequent routes, but of course are less frequent and have more stops. These are denoted with the letter D, for example, the D10. The connector and community routes tend to be more local routes that are much less frequent and make many more stops. These are not denoted with any letter at all, for example, the 676 or the 74. All of these routes provide transfers with the frequent express routes, connecting different parts of the city together. Understanding these routes and where they go is key to using the network, especially downtown. Another noteworthy aspect of the new system is on-request transit. Previously a pilot project, on-request provides transit service to specific areas with lower ridership, most notably suburbs. Riders can use an app that requests a bus to pick them up and drop them off within their area. For example, a trip can be booked from a house to a grocery store, or from a stop with frequent service to a house. This program has been massively expanded since the pilot and will be available in 12 different areas of the city. If you are still unsure which routes you need to take in the new system, Winnipeg Transit's app Trip Planner can give you some more information. Google Maps also now has the new system in its trip planner, visible if you select a date after June 29th for your departure time. Now, a common complaint about this new system is that most people will probably need more transfers than before. Winnipeg Transit has promised that the new network will result in buses being on time and more reliable, but that remains to be seen. In any case, I hope this guide eases some of the growing pains of this brand new system, and that people can get to their destination safely. Thank you so much for watching. If you know someone who rides the bus, share this with them so they can stay up to date on the new routes.